Hey AP Gov students, so this is another video that responds to your request. You say, I like the AP Gov videos, they explain things, but I want you to make it more relevant. So let's take that information that they gave us, some of it, it's directly notes and charts they gave us, and now try to relate it to what you see or have seen in the news lately, right? Because if it's relevant, then it makes sense in your head. Now, this graphic is right from your AP video on who checks the bureaucracy. So remember, this unit is about the interactions between the branches of government. The checks, right? How does each branch check the other? Well, all of the branches check bureaucracy in one form or the other. So it's good to review this visual. Okay, so these are just some of the checks that Congress has on bureaucracy, right? Keep in mind that all branches want to influence all the other branches' choices. The executive wants to influence Congress. Congress wants to influence the bureaucracy, right? It's all welded together. Now, Congress provides funding for bureaucratic agencies. Now, the executive can sort of put a proposal, but when it all comes down to, Congress is the one that provides the funding. So if the agencies don't have funding, their hands are tied to some degree to what they can do. Congress can also conduct oversight hearings to investigate agencies' activities. You see this a lot. So if they don't like the way a hearing is an agency is doing something, they'll have an oversight committee put on C-SPAN, and you can watch it. They can also pass laws to alter agencies' functions. You may have, when we did the multiple choice review, right? Congress makes the laws, but then how does the bureaucracy implement those laws? And Congress can approve, or they can fail to confirm the appointments to certain heads of these governmental agencies. So I want to show you some examples. Just since Biden took office, which will be a week ago tomorrow or today, depending on when you're watching this. My daughter's saying goodnight. He released an executive order on advancing racial equity and support for underserved communities through the federal government. So if you read, I just took a part of it, to actually use different programs, different agencies. And because if our agencies aren't equitable, the rest of society is not going to be equitable. So this is an example of the executive branch overseeing the bureaucracy to try to make change. You also have the proposals coming from the executive branch. So here you have Biden-Harris admin proposing $10 billion in new IT and cyber funding for federal agencies. Like that's a lot of money, right? It's like these agencies need to have good money when it comes to cyber things, so that, I mean, look what's happened with Russia and all that kind of stuff. All right. So
donate that to me, Joe Biden.
Right. So it is common that the executive tries to influence money that is spent or not spent in these agencies. Just last year, in February of 2020, Trump put forth a proposal where military spending went up by like 0.3%. And some agencies got an increase in spending, namely NASA, Homeland Security, Veterans Affairs, and National Security.
Oh my gosh.
Right? But all the other agencies lost money, the EPA, for example, by 5%, right? So if all these other agencies have less money, there's less things that they can do.
That sucks.
Okay. Now I mentioned oversight hearings. Okay, this is just from a few days ago. Lawmakers call for a vaccine oversight hearing. They don't like the way that the vaccine is being distributed or the lack of its proper distribution. Now, this is specific to New York State. This is not federal. I want to point that out, but it's the same format, just at a state level as opposed to a federal level. Okay, the president also has checks. Executive orders, like you saw with Biden that I shared earlier. The president can appoint or remove heads. We learned about this already. We saw that Trump had a 92% turnover rate, and a lot of it was because of, good night, sweetheart, was because of, was because of certain certain heads that were removed. The president can try to reorganize the bureaucracy, right, and how it's structured. And they can also propose policies to alter their activities. So you see some examples here. Trump signed orders to restrict unaccountable bureaucrats from creating backdoor regulations, right? Things related to federal bureaucracies. Now you see this example, Trump fired an agency head who vouched for 2020 voting security. This was a big deal when Christopher Krebs was fired. So you just see that Trump did have tried to really influence the bureaucracies, probably more than former presidents. We could sort of try to compare and contrast. Okay, the judiciary has checks as well. So if a rule or regulation by an agency seems to be unconstitutional, that could be brought before the court. We have due process. If individuals are hurt from agencies' actions, we see this a lot. We can talk about some examples. That could be brought between the court. They can also determine if an agency is overstepping the authority that they have. This is a release this from the Supreme Court just from several days ago. A case, Collins versus Mnuchin. Mnuchin was the Secretary of the Treasury. Okay, so they're going to decide whether restrictions Congress placed on the ability of the president to remove the director of the Federal Housing Finance Agency was an unconstitutional violation of separation of powers principle. So did he have the power to do that? There was already an oral argument. You could probably go online. I'll go to Oyas maybe and hear that. So this is something that is that happens to see a judiciary check. Okay, so hopefully you took some notes when you saw the AP video. Hopefully this just helps make things more real, more relevant. If you want to go in further about any of these examples that I mentioned, let me know, and we can definitely do that. All right, guys, be safe. See you soon. Was that not recording? No, I don't think that was recording. Oh, no. Aurora, wasn't recording. If you want to say hi again. The video wasn't recording. If you want to say hi again.